educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Thank you very much for tuning in today. We are very happy and excited to have this individual with us today. She is a exemplary mother of two kids, 7 and 10. She has been voted number 16 the last 2 years on Podcast Magazine's list of top 50 moms in podcasting. She's the host of Blissful Parenting Podcast, Potapalooza Event Podcast, and the Amplify You Podcast. You can also look for her on her website, amplifyunetwork.com. I bring to you none other than, I don't know, just saying your name might not be good enough. I want to find another adjective, but but I have Miss Michelle Abraham today. Thank you, Michelle, for coming on the show today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me, Maurice. I'm super excited to be here today.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So listen, Michelle, you know, I've been listening to your content, and one of the things I've been trying to express to my my listeners, if you will, on just what does podcasting mean, or what could it mean for someone's business or their just even not just their business, but their brand, or even how they can leverage it for their day-to-day job. You know, how can podcasting work?
Ooh, great question. I can go in a million different directions with that, but what I'll land on one solid answer to it. And, you know, I feel like podcasting nowadays is becoming more like a website where it is a place for you to showcase your expertise, develop a show, invite people into your community, and really give them that knowledge and create that trust with them, and just give huge value, and it elevates you as an expertise in your area. So it's a great place. So for someone who is an entrepreneur, this is a really fantastic place for people to come and listen, to get to know, like you, trust you, eventually then reach out to you. It eliminates those weird conversations about, so tell me about what you do and how I can work with you. They already know. They're showing up to the meeting going, where do I give you my credit card? Like, because they already know that you're my coach. Maurice, you're my man. Let's go. Like no more, like there's no fluff. I've listened to your episodes, like, let's go. And so I think that alone sets like businesses that are using podcasts in that way, whether you are a personal brand or an entrepreneur, or even if you're an employee. I think it really helps the businesses. Like you say, you're a salesperson for an organization. I think that could really help you when you're trying to reach out to companies. They can say, hey, go and listen to our podcast, and it allows them to get to know you, and allows them to I always say to my clients, what are the things that your ideal customers need to know about you in order to work with you? And that's what the podcast content should be.
So, you know, one of the things as you were speaking, I was listening to you talk about someone being a salesperson, right? And whatever they're trying to grow, I oftentimes tell individuals when they're too nervous to speak in front of people, sometimes podcasting can help them get over that hump, and they can practice this things like their sales pitch or whatever it is, in, you know, through the podcast, because for some of us it's just audio, for some of us it is video. But what do you think are some of the other benefits that people can get over something by using podcasting, if you will?
Oh, I love that question. You know, we really started to realize that podcasting is like evolving out loud. Because you might come to the podcast, even like watching our clients, like the first, we have this other saying where it's like, at Amplify You, if you are not embarrassed by your first few episodes, you waited too damn long to put them out there. And, you know, that for going back to like the nervous salesperson, like just getting into the act and the action of pressing record,
Mm-hmm.
coming to the microphone, using your voice
Right.
gives you so much clarity and confidence in what you're talking about over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like every time you press that record button, you're just getting a little bit more confident, a little bit more clear, and your message becomes a little bit more stable, and your listeners receive it in a whole new way over time.
So let's go back for a second. How would you advise someone to even get into podcasting? What should they use, not use, or what, because sometimes that hinders people from starting also, thinking that they need all this fancy equipment. So what would you suggest to someone?
For sure. So easiest answer is you open up a laptop
Mm-hmm.
and you open up a Zoom and you press record. That's like the easiest, simplest way to do. And at the end, you have a recording.
Right, right.
Now, we both know that that's like, not necessarily like the most sophisticated setup. And as you get
Right.
going into podcasting, but I always say, like, just go basic. You don't even need a microphone at the beginning. Just practice and see if you like it
Mm-hmm.
first. And if you love it, then keep going with it. Oftentimes, people will be a little bit shy about it at the beginning, and then over time they just love it more and more. And like me, then they start adding on all sorts of new podcasts, and every other month I've got an idea for a new one and I can't stop. So just to get started, the easiest simple way is just open up a Zoom account, open up your laptop and press record. Just get into that act of getting going.
So for those individuals that say they're not tech savvy, how else would you recommend for someone to even get started if they feel as though, I don't know this Zoom and things like that? Because some people are intimidated by the video side of that, right? So do you have any other suggestions for someone to get into podcasting, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much great resources out there. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many resources. In fact, I'll give you one at the end of this call. And but where I think that most people can get the most benefit is that information is free everywhere. But if
Yeah.
you get some support and get some help, because I was one of those people that tried to like figure it all out myself. I was like, I'm tech savvy, I could do
Right.
this. And I did it. And now I have a podcast agency helping people with a done for you service for a reason, because I did it. Yes, I did it. But did I love it? No. And is it in my zone of genius? Absolutely not. So, as far as like the editing and everything goes, and it costs a lot less than than what most people think to
Right,
have
right.
someone just helping you through it and holding your hand through it. So to go from A to Z, so idea to iTunes in the quickest, most efficient way, I would say get some help and get some support and get a coach to
Nice.
help you through it,
Nice.
because then you're gonna save a lot of time and headaches, and they're gonna make you go through that
Right.
there's quite a few things that pop up, like fears and the technical stuff, and we've already talked about a few of them. Those things kind of rub up in your face as you're about to press record. It's
Right.
like, oh, I'm not
Yeah, it
ready.
can.
I can't launch yet. But having a coach and having someone with that accountability will help you get through that.
Okay, cool. So for those individuals who are looking to find a way to even monetize it, because you see a lot of people talking about, hey, I get paid off of this or whatever else. What would you say, or how would you recommend to someone to monetize their podcast or whatever that might be?
Sure. Yeah. Can a podcast be monetized from day one? Yes, it can, in my opinion. Do most people do that? No, they don't. And here's why. I believe the whole rest of the podcast industry is looking at all the download numbers and sponsorship and all that fancy stuff, right?
Right.
Well, here we are in a little bit of a different space. We're talking to entrepreneurs.
Right.
And what do we have? We have our own programs and services.
Mm-hmm.
We also have affiliate programs, and we are also in the podcasting space and bringing on guests and in having me building relationships. So in my opinion, the best and easiest way to monetize your podcast, number one, is with your own programs and services. So those ads you hear in those podcasts should be going back to your own stuff, right?
Right.
So never mind the 25 cents per listen, 1,000 listens that you're going to get with sponsors. Forget that stuff. And that's what everyone's so focused on right now.
They
So
are.
I love to think of the podcast as this tool. It is the best networking tool ever.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can reach out and leverage your podcast and create relationships with people and open doors. And can I share a quick story of
Sure,
how that's
sure.
worked for us?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So a couple of things. One, in my business, my podcast Amplify You one is set up in a very specific way. So
Okay.
one type of interview we do is called behind the mic. This allows
Mm.
me to bring on all of our clients and like really showcase them as they've launched their show and get to talk about their experience launching it. And oftentimes they say great things about working with us, which is
Mm.
great, but that's not the main goal of it. Main goal is
Okay.
we're elevating them.
Okay.
Then I can bring on someone like you, Maurice, who we didn't launch your show, but I want to know what your journey was like. And maybe throughout that journey, you say something like, "Oh, I hate doing the show notes." And at the end of the conversation, you're like, "Hey, we can help you with the show notes if you want." So that leads to some conversations sometimes. And
Right.
if not, it leads to like also introductions to other podcasters. So we're getting
Mm-hmm.
into conversations. Maurice, who else do you know that would be a great guest on my show? And then I can give you guests for your show kind of thing. So anyways, I'm in conversation with the ideal person that I want to talk to. The other type of interview I do on that show is called Ask the Expert. So I
Okay.
bring in someone who's an expert on a particular topic.
Okay.
And so I could bring you in, Maurice, as a business coach, and you're going to deliver great content to my audience.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, I'd be like, "Oh, Maurice, I have this great idea for us to collaborate on a project together." Or perhaps you have a program coming up that I can promote with an affiliate link
Mm.
on my podcast, or vice versa, something like that. So the idea of the podcast then is that it's opening doors to relationships. So from 2 different podcast interviews I've had in the
Wow.
last 2 years, I've made over 6 figures.
Wow.
So one of them, we came on, I went onto his podcast, he came into mine. We realized that I do ABC in my business, and
Mm-hmm.
he does the monetization piece, which we weren't doing. And so together, him and I
Wow.
created a monetization program that then we've sold over and over and over again for the last 2 years. And that came from one podcast interview.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
the other story on that is another woman I interviewed. Her and I created this event called Potapalooza. I interviewed her on my podcast. We hit it off. We created an event called Potapalooza, which is for podcasters and
Okay.
podcast guests, and it just gives them like lots of exposure, and you get to be interviewed on podcast live that day during the event.
Nice.
And so again, between those 2 shows, it's created multiple 6 figures into our business. So that's why I
Wow.
like to look at podcasting. It's not necessarily like the audience. That is a long-term game. Yes, your audience will
Right.
definitely come to you and they'll love you, and you grow an audience that can become clients. But the quicker, most efficient way, and a way to monetize it right from the beginning, is bringing on the right people that you need to grow your business with.
So, how would you suggest for someone to find those individuals that's going to take them to the next level? Because sometimes they don't know, what resources are out there.
Right. Yeah. So you meaning as far as like who to interview on your show that could potentially connect with?
Yes, possibly. Where should they go? I mean, for an example,
Mhm.
you and I connected via Podmatch, right? But what
Right.
other
Yeah.
ways could people find individuals to be on their show?
Yeah, great idea. I always get referrals from the guests I've had on, because
Mm-hmm.
if I love them, I'll be definitely, connecting with. In fact, you and I already did this on this show right before we press record. I was like, I want to interview your wife on the Blissful Parenting Show, because you guys
Right.
have a parenting podcast. So of course, so that's where I find most of my connections is just referral from the previous guests. But if you're
Nice.
starting out fresh and you're looking for somewhere to go,
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple of places I recommend. Definitely Podmatch. Set up a profile there.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get booked on shows right away and start building that repertoire and that reputation on Podmatch. Another great place, we like looking for really interesting guests on Guestio as well.
Okay.
That's another place. And then
Okay.
we have a program that we run that's a free call every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific. It's called Connect and Collaborate. So it's
Connecting.
where
Okay.
podcasters come and guests come, and they get to meet each other and introduce each other. That's a great place. And my friend Kimberly, she runs one called Speakers Playhouse, which is like what we do at Connect and Collaborate, but amplified by 10,000. We get about 100 people. She gets about 100 people there every single week. And
Nice.
it's like you get to go on the microphone, share who you are, what your topic is, or
Okay.
what your podcast is about. So it's for guests and hosts too. So I
Nice.
like going to those kind of groups to meet people And my friend Sarah Penner runs a podcast collab, which is also another great group that has networking meetings for podcasters and guests to connect.
Wow, wow. Michelle, thank you very much. You have provided a lot of information. One of the things you had mentioned prior to us going live, right, that, hoping that you would share some nuggets. I think you shared a whole lot.
Oh, good. I like those golden nuggets.
I appreciate it. So, before we go, is there anything you would like to share with the audience, your websites, things like that, where they might be able to find you?
Yeah. Absolutely. So if you go to our website, we run our business in kind of a funny way. We don't have really any information about working with us on there, but you can book a call, and we're happy to chat with you. But you can go and see all the shows that we work with. And so we have a thing in our business. We only work with shows that are making a positive impact in the world. So if that's you and you need some help with, you either have a show or want to launch a show, we're happy to help you.
Nice.
And that's amplifyounetwork.com. So it's spelled kind of weird, AMPLIFYOU network. So we dropped the double Y in there.
Yeah.
So Amplify You Network. And then if you go to amplifyu.com/blueprint, gets you to a PDF that walks you through our 5 phases of launching. So creating, marketing, managing, monetizing your show. And there's a 90-minute training that you get with that as well.
Nice.
Happy to give you guys those.
Appreciate it. I will have that information in the description for the show. Thank you very much, Michelle, for coming on today. Now, one last thing, I ask every guest overall my would you rather question, because I really think that this question, it shows a lot about an individual and their personality. Would you rather choose a fork in the road or 3 doors?
Oh my goodness. 2 choices or 3 choices? I think I would go with the fork in the road.
Really? And why is that?
Because I think in a fork in the road, you make a decision and you can see a little bit into what each of the other decisions would take you, which are the other roads. And I think I'd like to see a little bit more. And I see that the road, I would choose and feel. I would internally turn in and feel which one felt better to me.
Nice.
And go with it.
Cool. I appreciate that. Everyone, there's a lot more people
you got some weird
that.
Read it with some funny answers to that one. I know I've heard a few of them.
It's very interesting because more and more people are choosing the fork. In the very beginning, when I first asked the question, it was way more people choosing the doors because they wanted more options. But it's interesting as my listenership has grown and the people that I've been interviewing is more and more, hey, I just want to go right or left. For the most part, I don't want too many options. So it's very interesting. But I thank you for sharing that with us today.
You're welcome.
And I thank you very much. And I thank you very much for coming on. And we definitely will be talking again, Michelle.
Oh, awesome. I love it. And thank you so much. Your audience has been so fun and you've got great questions. I love it.
Cool. Thank you very much. Everyone, tune in for the next episode. And be sure to go on to amplifyounetwork.com and follow Michelle on everything. Talk to you later, y'all.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?